Hello, I'm SA, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin. A profound ambition has animated arithmetic geometry for the better part of a century. The desire to see numbers as shapes. The goal is to import the powerful, intuitive toolkit of geometry with its concepts of space, continuity, and deformation into the stark, discrete realm of number theory. When studying solutions to polynomial equations in ordinary rational or real numbers, this translation is fruitful and familiar. The equation x squared plus y squared equals 1, spoken aloud, describes a circle. This correspondence allows us to use geometric intuition to understand algebraic properties. The entire enterprise, however, encounters a landscape of bewildering strangeness when the underlying number system changes. The territory in question is the world of the p-adic numbers, a construction central to modern number theory, yet one that defies conventional geometric visualization. For any prime number p, one can construct the p-adic numbers, a number system where the notion of size is completely rewired. Here, two numbers are considered close, if their difference is divisible by a high power of p. This creates a space with a fractal-like, totally disconnected topology. A continuous path from one point to another is a meaningless concept. The smooth, flowing surfaces of complex analysis shatter into an infinite dust of isolated points. Consequently, the classical methods for studying geometric objects, methods born from calculus and complex variables, fail spectacularly. Yet it is precisely within these bizarre numerical systems that the deepest secrets of Diophantine equations, polynomial equations seeking integer solutions, are believed to reside. The challenge for mathematicians was immense. How does one build a meaningful geometry for a world without paths, a space without shape, in any classical sense? The initial heroic response to this challenge was the development of p-adic Hodge theory. This intricate web of results, built over decades by giants like Tate, Serre, Fontaine, and Faltings, established a series of profound and surprising equivalences. It functioned as a grand dictionary, translating between different kinds of algebraic data one could attach to a p-adic variety. On one side, there was Étale cohomology, which captures arithmetic information related to the Galois group, the group of symmetries of the number field. On another, de Rham cohomology, which is built from differential forms, reminiscent of calculus. On yet another, crystalline cohomology, a powerful tool in positive characteristic. P-adic Hodge theory asserted that for a given geometric object over the p-adics, these seemingly unrelated cohomology theories, when properly formulated, would yield isomorphic vector spaces. These were the celebrated comparison theorems. This was a monumental achievement, providing a computational bridge between worlds. It was, however, a bridge suspended in fog. The theory supplied a set of almost magical correspondences, an alchemical recipe book for turning one type of invariant into another. What was missing was the underlying reality. There was a dictionary, but what language did it describe? There was a map of correspondences, but what territory did it chart? The field yearned for a single, unified geometric object whose intrinsic properties would explain these mysterious connections. Into this environment of profound results and lingering foundational questions came a new generation of geometric visionaries. The first part of the answer arrived with Peter Sculce's introduction of Perfortide spaces in the early 2010s. These are fantastically complex geometric objects, but their defining feature is a kind of miracle. They provide a robust bridge between the world of mixed characteristic, like the p-adic numbers which mix characteristic 0 with characteristic p phenomena, and the world of pure positive characteristic PIA, where a powerful tool called the Frobenius endomorphism, the map that raises coordinates to the PIA third power, makes many problems more tractable. This tilting equivalence was a breakthrough of the highest order. It provided a new class of spaces, a new continent on the mathematical map that seemed custom-built to handle the pathologies of p-adic geometry. These new spaces, however, required a new way of seeing. A geometric space in modern mathematics is understood through its topology, or more generally, its site, a framework that dictates how to piece together local information into a global picture. The standard ways of defining a site on these new perfectoid spaces were insufficient to unlock their deepest arithmetic secrets. This is the precise point where the contributions of Bhargav Bhatt became indispensable. Drawing on his exceptionally deep and broad command of commutative algebra and algebraic topology, Bhatt, in collaboration with Sculsay, developed what is now known as the pro-étale site for perfectoid spaces. This was a radical reimagining of the topology for these objects. It was a subtle and technically demanding construction, defining a new set of rules for what constitutes a covering of a space. The pro-étale site was the correct lens through which to view a perfectoid space, a lens that brought its hidden arithmetic structure into sharp, brilliant focus. It endowed these abstract objects with a rich, workable geometric character, making them amenable to the powerful machinery of cohomology. With the right objects finally in place, perfectoid spaces, and the right way to look at them, the pro-étale site, the stage was set for the grand synthesis. The collaboration between Bhatt and Sculsay culminated in the creation of prismatic cohomology. This was the answer to the decades-long search for a unified theory. Prismatic cohomology is a revolutionary construction. It associates to a p-adic formal scheme a new object called a prism, which is a pair consisting of a ring and an ideal within it, that encodes the crucial interaction between characteristic P and characteristic 0. From this single foundational object, a rich cohomology theory is built. The genius of the construction lies in its universality. This new theory was engineered from the ground up to be a mother theory. It stands as a single, high-level vantage point. By specializing or viewing the prismatic complex from different perspectives, by performing certain standard algebraic constructions upon it, one could recover all of the previously known disparate p-adic cohomology theories. The old dictionary of mysterious correspondences was being replaced by a unified grammar, a single coherent language from which all previous dialects could be derived. The construction of this framework marked a fundamental shift in the landscape of arithmetic geometry. It provided a new bedrock, a new set of first principles, from which the entire edifice of p-adic Hodge theory could be rebuilt with unprecedented clarity and power. The era of bespoke, hard-won comparison proofs was poised to give way to an era of systematic deduction from a single beautiful source. The intellectual payoff for this monumental construction was immediate and profound. For decades, the world of arithmetic geometry had been populated by a family of powerful, yet stubbornly distinct, p-adic cohomology theories. These were the essential tools for counting solutions to polynomial equations over p-adic fields, the domains where arithmetic behaves in strange and wonderful ways. There was étale cohomology, which excels at capturing topological and Galois-theoretic information. There was crystalline cohomology, a more algebraic construct, effective in positive characteristic. And there was de Rham cohomology, connected to differential forms. Each theory provided a unique window into the hidden structure of algebraic varieties, yet the windows faced different directions. The central conviction of the field, a belief held with almost religious fervor, was that these theories were deeply interconnected. They were thought to be different shadows cast by the same underlying, yet unseen, mathematical object. This conviction was formalized in a series of profound and fiendishly difficult statements known as the comparison isomorphism conjectures. These conjectures predicted precise canonical equivalences between these different cohomology groups under the right conditions. For example, the crystalline comparison theorem, conjectured by Alexander Grothendieck and proven by Gerd Faltings in a tour de force, asserted an isomorphism between crystalline and étale cohomology for smooth projective varieties over p-adic fields. Proving these conjectures was the lifeblood of p-adic Hodge theory. Each proof was a landmark achievement, a bespoke masterpiece of technical ingenuity requiring years of dedicated effort to solve a single case. The field progressed through these singular hard-won victories, accumulating a dictionary of translations between languages without possessing a common ancestor. The arrival of the prismatic framework, developed by Bhatt and Peter Schultz, fundamentally altered this entire paradigm. Their work provided the common ancestor. It delivered the high-altitude perspective from which the entire landscape of p-adic cohomology could be surveyed and understood as a single coherent whole. The prismatic complex they constructed functions as a universal source. One can think of it as a kind of mathematical stem cell, a pluripotent entity which, upon differentiation through standard algebraic procedures, gives rise to all the specialized theories. The genius of their approach lies in its systematic nature. The once monumental comparison theorems became corollaries of the framework's very definition. To recover, for instance, crystalline cohomology, one performs a particular well-understood operation on the prismatic complex. To recover étale cohomology, one performs another. Because both theories originate from the same universal object, the relationship between them is baked into the system from the outset. The isomorphism is a guaranteed consequence of the construction, a feature of the architecture, an inheritance passed down from the common parent. This transformed the process of proof. The immense difficulty was front-loaded into the construction of the perfectoid and prismatic worlds themselves. Once that universe was built, with its rules and its logic firmly established, the great theorems of the past emerged with a sense of inevitability. It was as if mathematicians had been trying to prove that French and Italian were related by painstakingly comparing vocabulary lists, when Bhatt and Schultz arrived to present a grammar for Latin. This unification has had consequences that ripple through the deepest parts of modern number theory. The Langlands program, that grand web of conjectures connecting number theory, geometry, and representation theory, relies heavily on a precise understanding of local fields, including the p-adic numbers. The clarity and computational power afforded by prismatic cohomology provide a far more robust and flexible toolkit for tackling questions at the heart of Langlands. It allows for the formulation of questions and the execution of proofs in settings of far greater generality than were previously accessible, especially in cases involving singularities or imperfect reduction modulo p. The impact on the culture of the field is likewise difficult to overstate. The prismatic perspective is now the lingua franca of p-adic Hodge theory. Advanced graduate seminars across the world initiate students into this new way of thinking. Problems that were once considered the exclusive domain of a few technical masters are now approachable by a younger generation, armed with these powerful, streamlined tools. The framework provides a conceptual clarity that illuminates the entire subject, revealing why the old comparison isomorphisms had to be true and placing them within a beautiful, unified structure. The era of bespoke proofs has yielded to an era of systematic architectural mathematics, where the goal is to build the right universe in which the desired theorems appear as natural phenomena. Yet, The power of the techniques Bhatt developed and mastered in this highly abstract geometric domain was destined to have a profound impact on a seemingly unrelated field. The world of commutative algebra, with its focus on the intricate structure of rings and their ideals, harbored its own set of deep foundational questions, particularly concerning the behavior of singularities in the treacherous terrain of mixed characteristic. The methods forged to understand the geometry of p-adic numbers would soon be deployed with astonishing success to resolve problems that had stood for decades as pillars of pure algebra. This pivot would reveal another dimension of Bhatt's mathematical vision, the remarkable ability to translate insights from one world to another, using the light of geometry to illuminate the deepest shadows of algebra. The intellectual toolkit, developed for p-adic geometry, proved equally transformative when applied to the core problems of commutative algebra. This discipline, concerned with the foundational grammar of algebraic structures, possessed its own set of venerable and notoriously difficult questions. While the geometry of singularities over fields of characteristic zero, like the complex numbers, possessed a mature and elegant theory, the corresponding landscape in mixed characteristic remained largely uncharted and perilous territory for algebraists. Mixed characteristic rings, such as the ring of integers or the p-adic integers, form the essential bridge between the finite world of modular arithmetic and the infinite continuum of analysis. A singularity in this context represents a point on an arithmetic scheme where the defining equations behave poorly, where the geometric intuition of smoothness breaks down. For decades, the absence of a robust theory for these points represented a fundamental barrier, a place where the methods that worked so beautifully elsewhere failed spectacularly. At the heart of this challenge lay a family of conjectures known as the homological conjectures, which served as a measure of the tameness or pathologies of a ring. One of the most resilient and central of these was the direct summed conjecture, formulated by Melvin Hochster in the 1960s. Its statement is deceptively simple, yet its implications are profound. It posits that for a regular ring, the algebraic analog of a smooth, well-behaved geometric space, any larger ring that is finitely generated as a module over it must contain the original ring as a clean, separable piece, a direct summand. This property is a fundamental test of regularity, a confirmation that the smooth object sits inside the larger one without any pathological twisting or entanglement. The conjecture had been proven in characteristic 0 and in characteristic p, but the mixed characteristic case, the crucial bridge, resisted all attempts for nearly half a century. It became a symbol of the deep conceptual difficulties inherent in arithmetic geometry. Bhargav Bhatt's resolution of the direct summed conjecture, first in a special case with his student Lin-Quan Ma, and later in full generality by André, was a landmark achievement that sent reverberations throughout the algebraic world. The solution was a masterpiece of intellectual arbitrage, demonstrating the sheer power of the perfectoid perspective, developed in a different context. The core strategy was to find a way to transport the mixed characteristic problem into the world of characteristic P, where powerful tools like the Frobenius morphism, repeatedly taking pth powers, were available. This is precisely what perfectoid spaces and their associated tilting equivalents were designed to do. By constructing a perfectoid big Cohen-Macaulay algebra, an intricate auxiliary object, whose existence was a major theorem in itself, Bhatt could effectively tilt the entire problem. This maneuver reduced the stubborn mixed characteristic statement to a corresponding and already known statement in characteristic P. The wall that had stood for 50 years was circumvented by building a higher dimensional bridge over it. The proof was a stunning vindication of the idea that the deepest problems in algebra required a geometric and p-adic vocabulary to even be properly articulated, let alone solved. This triumph with the direct summoned conjecture was a singular victory, but it was part of a much broader campaign to rebuild the theory of singularities in mixed characteristic from the ground up. Classical notions of good singularities, such as Cohen-Macaulay and rational singularities, which were well-defined and immensely useful over fields, lacked a coherent and workable theory in the mixed characteristic setting. The definitions were either too weak, too strong, or led to paradoxical behavior. A new language was required, one that could capture the essence of geometric smoothness while being robust enough to handle the arithmetic complexities. Here again, Bhatt's work provided a revolutionary new framework, this time centered on the concept of the absolute integral closure of a ring. The absolute integral closure, denoted R+, is a vast canonical extension of a ring, R formed by adjoining all roots to all polynomial equations with coefficients in R. It is an immense and seemingly unwieldy object, yet it encodes a tremendous amount of information about the deep structure of the original ring. Bhatt's insight was to use the properties of this infinite object to define the properties of the finite one. He, along with collaborators, demonstrated that many of the desirable properties of singularities in characteristic P could be extended to mixed characteristic by demanding that these properties hold after passing to the absolute integral closure. For instance, they defined a notion of perfectoed pseudo-rationality, which provided a robust analogue of rational singularities. This work culminated in a breathtaking theorem. A local ring in mixed characteristic has a rational singularity if and only if its absolute integral closure is a Cohen-Macaulay ring. This result forged a profound and unexpected link between a classical geometric property of a singularity, its rationality, and a deep homological property of its most fundamental algebraic extension. It provided a clean, powerful, and computable criterion for a concept that had previously been shrouded in ambiguity. The approach was radical. It suggested that to understand the local, finite nature of a singularity, one had to first understand the global, infinite structure of its absolute integral closure. The perfectoid methods were essential for taming this infinite object, for proving it had the necessary finiteness properties to be a useful tool. This work supplied commutative algebraists with a new, stable, and profoundly insightful toolkit. It established a dictionary for translating geometric intuition into algebraic reality within the most challenging arithmetic contexts, bringing a new coherence and clarity to a field that had been grappling with these foundational issues for generations. The light from p-adic geometry had successfully illuminated the deepest chambers of pure algebra. This illumination reveals a landscape reshaped by a new kind of mathematical architecture, one conceived and erected through a profoundly collaborative spirit. The great theorems and conceptual breakthroughs that define Bhargav Bhatt's career are rarely tales of solitary genius. They are, with remarkable consistency, stories of partnership, dialogue, and intellectual synthesis. This mode of operation reflects a deep understanding of modern mathematics, where the frontiers are so vast and the required expertise so specialized that progress often depends on the fusion of different perspectives. His work embodies a principle of intellectual synergy, where the whole becomes something far more potent than the sum of its parts. The most celebrated and transformative of these partnerships is, of course, with Peter Schulze. Their joint work represents one of the most productive collaborations in modern mathematics, a period of intense creativity that has permanently altered the foundations of arithmetic geometry. To characterize their dynamic is to describe a perfect intellectual resonance. Schulze, the architect of the perfectoid universe, provided the radical new geometric vision. Budis, with his encyclopedic command of commutative algebra and algebraic geometry, became the master engineer, the one who could connect these ethereal new structures to the bedrock of classical problems, ensuring their stability and utility. Their papers read as a seamless dialogue between the geometric and the algebraic. One mind poses a question in the language of spaces and topoi, the other answers with a construction involving rings and modules. This interplay is manifest in their creation of prismatic cohomology. The theory emerged from a shared ambition to find a single unifying cohomology theory that would work for p-adic geometry in its fullest generality. It required a delicate fusion of Schultz's perfectoid methods with Bhatt's deep insights into derived algebra and the subtle behavior of p-torsion. The resulting framework, built upon the ingenious notion of the prism, is a testament to their combined strengths. It possesses the geometric flexibility to handle singular spaces while retaining the rigid algebraic structure needed for powerful computations and comparison theorems. Their collaboration produced a tool of immense power and elegance, a mathematical object that feels simultaneously inevitable and miraculous, the product of two distinct modes of thought converging on a single harmonious solution. This collaborative ethos extends beyond a single partnership. Bhatt has become a central node in a global network of mathematicians working on these ideas. He is a sought-after collaborator for his clarity, his technical power, and his ability to identify the core algebraic mechanism underlying a geometric phenomenon. Furthermore, his influence is amplified through his role as a mentor. He has guided a new generation of mathematicians, instilling in them both the technical machinery of perfectoid geometry and the conceptual worldview that underpins it. His students are now making their own significant contributions, pushing the boundaries of the field in directions he helped chart. This cultivation of talent represents a different kind of legacy, one measured in the flourishing of a school of thought and the continued vitality of a research program. He is building an intellectual community equipped to explore the vast territory he helped open up. Looking back across his body of work, a grand unifying vision comes into focus. From the early explorations of perfectoid rings to the development of prismatic cohomology and the applications in commutative algebra, the connecting thread is a powerful philosophical strategy, the principle of perfection. The central idea is that problems in the fiendishly complex world of mixed characteristic, where the integers, with their mixture of characteristic 0 and characteristic 3 phenomena, reside, can be solved by first translating them into a world of pure characteristic pre. The tilting correspondence of perfectoid spaces provides a rigorous dictionary for this translation. In the characteristic pre-of world, powerful tools like the Frobenius morphism become available, simplifying structures and revealing hidden symmetries. This is the essential insight that animates his entire research program. Prismatic cohomology is the ultimate expression of this philosophy, creating a bridge that directly connects the mixed characteristic world to its characteristic pre-Alford counterpart. His work on the absolute integral closure demonstrated the surprising utility of this bridge in a completely different context. By viewing a classical algebraic problem through a perfectoid lens, he could tame an infinitely complicated object and extract the precise information needed to resolve long-standing questions about singularities. Each major result serves as another powerful proof of concept for this overarching vision. He has shown time and again that the path to clarity in arithmetic often leads through the purifying fire of characteristic pre-of. The ultimate measure of a mathematician's impact lies in the way they change the conversation. Bhargav Bhatt's legacy is written in the new language now spoken by arithmetic geometers. The questions being posed today, the techniques being deployed, and the very assumptions that frame the field are different because of his contributions.
Concepts like prisms, perfectoid rings, and QD formations of DRAM complexes are now part of the standard vocabulary for graduate students entering the field. He has supplied the grammar for a new chapter in the story of number theory. His work provides a powerful answer to the old, deep questions concerning the relationship between numbers and shapes, between algebra and geometry, especially over the p-adic numbers. The structures he has built with his collaborators are permanent additions to the mathematical landscape. They are the vantage points from which future generations will survey the territory and plan their own expeditions. The influence is already palpable in the work of his students and colleagues, who are applying these tools to problems in representation theory, Hodge theory, and mathematical physics. The edifice of modern arithmetic geometry is being built upon foundations he helped lay, using blueprints he helped draft. His legacy is an active and expanding one, a set of powerful tools, a coherent vision, and a community of explorers ready to push deeper into the mysteries of the mathematical universe.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.